Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Dev Talk. We are in the middle of the second week of October here, and we're going to be heading into a little bit of sneak peek of the patch. So first off, my name is DryBear, and I'm joined today by Ben Knapp. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Ben Knapp. I'm a senior character artist here at Hi-Rez.
So, character artist. I mean, we have a lot of characters in this game.
We do.
We have a lot. So, let's go ahead and just start a little bit. I mean, what is a typical day for you?
A typical day is I just come in and work on a model. That's
Okay.
all I do.
Okay.
It's the best job in the world, man.
Well, there you go. Well, we have a pretty strong model to show here today. Now, we tweeted a little bit earlier in the week. We saw Stu kind of teasing it a little. We said that there's going to be a little bit of controversial remodel going into this patch. Now, we will not be having a new god for this patch, just to go ahead and squash those expectations, but we do have a fantastic remodel, and a couple of things are going into the patch notes tomorrow, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So the first thing that I want to do here is kind of lead into it. So the god, just to lead right into it, Bakasura. Bakasura is being remodeled. So, kind of talk a little bit about how this process began.
I mean, you know how it is with our gods. Like, a lot of them are done way back in the day.
Right.
And as we, keep going forward, we get more better artists on, and it raises the bar. And, as time progresses, you become better artists. So everything the bar raises over and over and over again, right? So you go back to these older models, you're like, you know what? Some of these guys just kind of aren't really vibing with the newer ones, So, that's kind of where we got with Bakasura. Like, we need to have a list of these guys that need to be updated, and Bakasura was on the list, So pretty much they threw me a concept and said, hey, listen, start making the guy,
Right, yeah. I mean, one of our older characters. I mean,
yes.
he wasn't in the alpha. He wasn't in that kind of like, once we went to closed beta, we released Baka shortly after there. So he was pretty old as far as that goes. So let's go ahead and bring up the concept art on the screen. You can see exactly where we went with Bakasura and the style that kind of went along with that. So you'll have to see where the idea. So walk us through the style here.
Okay, so the style, when I got this, man, I was laughing because it was like a mishmash of a lot of my favorite kind of things. The first thing I saw was the blades. I'm thinking like Baraka from Mortal Kombat, I was calling him Bakasura for a while. It was great. And then I saw like the look of this guy. I'm thinking, oh wow, this dude looks like a combo of Baraka. I love Mortal Kombat, so I'm getting the Mortal Kombat vibe. And then he looks like Skeletor. I'm a huge '80s fan, so I'm like Skeletor and Mumra all into one character. So I was super stoked when I saw this concept, man.
Well, I mean, yeah, so you look at the other way, right? Before, his hands were entirely blades. And now he does have that kind of more humanoid aspect. He's got blades coming out of the edge of his knuckles there, a little bit more aggressive. But, one thing you can see right away, those are teeth on his chest.
Those are teeth.
Is that a mouth?
That's a mouth. If you look in the bottom right, you will see it's like a sketch of kind of his ult, how it kind of works, where the the minion, he swallows a minion whole and spits them out. I don't think they're doing the head thing anymore. There's no crazy monster that comes out of his mask. The chest
scary
piece,
enough as it is normally.
Let me just say this right now. People are probably looking at this character and they're like, this guy looks like a pro wrestler. This guy does not look like Bakasura, right? And trust me when I say this, the animations sell it. All the work is done from the animations. When you look at this guy flat on, you'll see some things we're going to show in a minute is kind of the turnaround 360 views, and it looks great, but it doesn't look like Bakasura until you see it animated. It looks really creepy. It's he's real low and very feral looking. It's awesome.
Well, it kind of has to be, right? Because you look at him and you say, okay, he's got some crazy features, but you really have to bring it into life and make it kind of animate here. So the next thing, let's go ahead and look at the God card, and this will show you, what you just saw there with the concept and what it kind of turned into. So that's really powerful. I mean, if you saw that coming towards you, you're not really messing around.
Yeah.
So the fact that we took this really old model and restructured it, he's still got the hood, he's still got the color scheme, he's still got the blades coming out. So it's very true to form, but now it's much more modern.
Sure. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Is you're trying to raise the bar and kind of hit it where the rest of the models are. You want to keep some of the old vibes. Obviously, you can't translate 100% perfectly. I can't just take the old Bakasura and just make it happen the way it is, just update it. It's got to have a fresh new take as well to kind of bring it to the level the other gods are.
Well, the next thing you can think about realistically is that, this is the concept, this is the art. I want to know what it looks like in game. So let's go ahead and bring up the model itself, just a, kind of a little turntable to see, show us what you got. So this is the turntable for Bakasura. So a lot more detail came into the model when it finally came in. So, tell us, how did you go about doing this, right? What software was it, and what are the techniques that are involved?
All right, so the first thing that happened when I got the concept, I loved a lot of it, like I was saying earlier. But the first thing I noticed, I should have probably pointed this out when I had the concept up, but the guy has no pants. He's just like straight up 80s wrestler, loincloth, and legs showing. So that was the first thing I addressed. I was like, I love the concept. I need to add a little bit of something more to it.
Sure.
I'm going to give him some pants, and I'm going to give him some boots. Still going to stick with the same vibe that the actual concept had, but like kind of just, make it more, just like it makes more sense, I think.
Right, sure.
So the first thing I do is I get the concept, and then after these adjustments, I'll talk to people and start making proportional changes. And out from a base mesh. So I'll go into a program called ZBrush, where we take like it's kind of like, think of like clay sculpting, but in a computer. So yeah, so I'll do all that. Got a little Wacom pen. I start working on my monitor and stuff, and I'll kind of block out the proportions for the character. And then I go through a bunch of iterations where we go back and forth in meetings and stuff. And then once we get a solid proportional change that we like, I will go ahead and give a block off to animation, and then I start working on the actual high point model in 3D Max and ZBrush.
Right. Now, as far as that goes, right, you're taking a concept and you're translating it. Like you were mentioning before, when we translate the old model to the new model, there's still that kind of loss in translation from concept to model itself. So do you have some creative room there to mess with it?
I actually, it's good, but me specifically, I used to actually do some concept stuff here, so I have a little of that in my skill set.
Awesome.
So that helps a lot. Whenever you're doing like the translation from 2D to 3D, you're right. A lot of it's like, there's something that's a certain angle, and the foreshortening on it just makes it look weird, and it's like, that doesn't even make any sense. Like I'll put like a front view next to a back view, and I'm like, they don't line up. What's going on? So anything lost in translation, I go ahead and just like adjust. And the liberty thing, yeah, I get liberty as long as it fits within the actual like concept and the style of the character. I can't deviate too much, right?
Right.
Like for instance, the pants that I put on the character, like the original concept, dude's got the straight legs showing. It looks a little too weird, little 80s basketball. I don't know, I'm not feeling that. So I said, what, put some pants on the guy. So you get a little liberty, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
The pants really make a big difference. Now, I'm gonna answer the burning question right now. I'm sure there's a lot of people in chat that are wondering, because this happens every time we remodel a god.
Right.
Skins. The Feaster Bunny will be staying as is. The Destroyer Bakasura will be staying as is. But we do have a recolor, which is going to be the Butcher Bakasura, which is the slightly off, kind of grimy, orange, kind of cool. Bring it up on screen. Check this out. Now, is that like a flame texture there?
Well, it's just kind of a little emissive. I don't think there's any fire going on with this guy, but it's just a little color variant. We try to make it more of a more maroon, kind of like more of a red, warmer palette, and it's just a little bit of orange energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just really cool. So, I mean, obviously, this is a character that, like you were mentioning, it really comes to life with the animations itself. So how, you make it move, how you make it feel. And I think a lot of people that are wondering the separation between monster, creature versus humanoid.
Right.
I mean, how does that kind of, as far as like you have it done, you pass it off. Do you envision how it's going to be animated?
Well, the animation team here is amazing. They will, usually at many studios, it'll be characters, animation, and the animation team will kind of like dictate a lot of stuff. And that's the way how it should be. I feel like you should cater to the animators as as a character artist, because they're next in the pipeline. But here they kind of give you a lot of freedom. Like, what do you think the character should animate like? They want to get your feedback, which is really awesome, because as I'm modeling it, I got a certain vibe in my head. You know what I mean? And they kind of translate that as much as they can in the animations and try to get your feedback on that. So pretty much, I trust them more than they should trust me, is the way I feel here.
Okay.
So I'm like, I will make this guy look as awesome as possible from the modeling aspect. You guys bring him to life with the animations.
Well, on that note, let's bring him to life. So we have Bakasura in-game for you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's bring it up onto the screen. This is your box. Look at that. He's just crawling around.
Yeah, man.
That is just creepy.
You gotta see some of the other moves. Take a look at some of his specials, and
right,
he actually has it's two states. He has the attack state and then the non-attack. So if you take a swipe right now, now start walking. He's a little creepier.
Oh man. That is just, he's creeping along. You see the little footsteps, of course, all darkness. Now, one of my favorite additions, which is probably the thing I'm most excited about, and I can't understand why. This is the first god that we've had that can do this.
Oh, Psycho Crusher.
Oh, he flips! Flippy! That's right. So Bakasura actually has the first flipping jump. Look at that.
Nice. Take a look at some of his attacks. He's got a little M Bison Psycho Crusher in there.
Oh, awesome!
Hold on a second. It should be coming. Too bad it's random.
Does it just randomly pop up? Is it a
Yeah,
basic attack?
It's a basic attack. It's one of the random ones. If it's not popping, just move on, I guess.
It could be inside of the activation of the 3. There.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
let's cover the abilities. Of course, you're going to see a brand new passive there above his profile icon, really going to show through. But the next thing you can see is the first thing is obviously the jump. So, this is not a remake by any means. It's 100% exactly the way he was before, but he is now having a new model, new animation. So let's check out the jump here, new targeter a little bit more, darkness. And it seems like we've moved from the grotesque to like the darkness, the maw, the abyss kind of creepy blackness coming in. So this is the jump here. Look at that. That is just, you can feel that coming.
Yep.
You look up and you see the darkness coming down on top of you. So now, of course, I do have to remind you guys that everything is actually going to be, see if I can actually get audio. That's about all I've got, 100%. Okay. Well, I want to get a little more volume for you guys, but that's going to be it. So that's going to be that. So, one thing that we really want to look at, of course, is, voice changing, the way the character evolves, and that kind of thing. So one thing that it's exciting is I do make sure this is at full. Yeah, it looks like I'm 100% up here, as high as it can go. Sorry about the translation there, guys. It is right. You have the same character. But when you change the style, it really allows you a lot more liberty in the animation itself. So you can see a little more darkness here.
Yeah.
Are you happy the way that it changed?
Oh yeah, man. I think they did a great job. Like the whole team as a whole. I think this character. I was afraid at first because I was like, this guy looks like he's a bodybuilder. I don't know. I don't know why he's taking the place of this little creepy dude. But it just came together, man.
There we go. Some little minions for you. So we're going to show the second ability. Actually, you can see if the Psycho Crusher comes out. Yeah,
I swear to God, it's there. You'll see it at some point.
Well, here comes the eat. Oh gosh, the little tendrils come out from his little belly. I'm going to go ahead and spawn. Let's go ahead and get 2 more out here.
This is great. I actually haven't even seen the ability in action.
Look at that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that is just creepy. So you can see that as far as the passive meter goes, right, you have that passive will stack up. It's on your meter bar there. So the little bubbles there, the orange bubbles, are going to show you how many minions you have in your belly. Of course, you're able to regurgitate these back up. Whatever the new name of the ability is actually going to be... They'll still regurgitate. Okay. Yep. So there's that. And, of course, you'll be able to stack up the attack speed, movement speed from the passive with those blue bars there. So that is the Eat minion effect. Next is going to be the Butcher Blades. So he's actually going to just pop those up. Look at that.
Nice.
Oh, it's a Psycho Crusher.
Yeah.
So it's only during the activation of 3. He's got a little Psycho Crusher. Psycho Crusher.
There it is.
I'll swing in
it
there.
looks really cool when you see it in the editor.
I was like, oh, shoot. Oh, the little spin. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it kind of like twinkles.
He got a little twinkle to him, man.
A little twinkle
A little
there.
pep in his step.
Okay. This is the big moment, I think. A lot of people are wondering what the ultimate is going to turn into. Now, of course, he does have that open mouth on his chest. He's now going to be more, darkness. So this is the ultimate here. Regurgitate, place on the ground. See, it's already kind of spectral and creepy and gross.
Real Athro looking, yeah.
There you go. Boom. Gives a little cone as well. But look at that. Look at the minions.
Yeah.
They're literally just minions coated in darkness. That is crazy. Here you go. Spits out the darkness, still spinning in a circle. He's got a little bite. Oh, look at that.
Yep.
What is this? What is it? Oh, my God. Is that supposed to be the stomach?
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like an energy version of like the chest.
Oh, my God. So he just claps it together and just bites.
Yep.
That is crazy. So this is the new Bakasura, ladies and gentlemen. Here's all the effects and the abilities kind of going head-to-head. We can actually spawn bot a raw... It's 2-1. Yeah, there we go. Smack him to death. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Go jump in, pop the ultimate. Let's get a whole bunch of minions in here and really get the full effect. But, I mean, so here it is. I mean, this is the full 6. Boom. Stack it all up. And so I guess the idea is that, when they go into the abyss, they get coated in, whatever is down there. Yeah. And then they when they come out here. Darkness. Look at that.
That's it. Game over.
So great. So, I mean, right, we have this old model, and it feels good to have something new. And are you sometimes concerned about losing the old sense of the character when you make a new version?
Well, that's part of the job. Like you have to bring it to the table, but you have to do it in a way that's fresh and new, and it works for the character. Like, I can't like just say, hey, I'm gonna make a new Bakasura, and then again, it's a bodybuilder, and like, you know, if animation didn't like I said, animation saved my ass on this one. They did all the work for me.
Right.
But when I make stuff, yeah, I mean, like, I definitely try to keep the vibe of the character in. Like, I wanted to have him a little creepier vibe because he's a creepy little dude. Based on the concept, we didn't really get to go that far, but I definitely tried to keep, I mean, with the teeth and stuff like that, I try to have a couple of weird-looking teeth that like came off at different angles, so it's not just like a random mouth. It was like a creepy mouth, you know. You can see it more towards whenever he's actually facing you. Like, if you see him coming down a lane, he looks pretty damn creepy, man.
Oh, especially with any amount of attack speed just coming in. Let's see if we can't get this quadra here. So close, so close. Yeah, there we go. So Bakasura confirmed overpowered. Just got a pentakill in the middle of the test map. So, you know, I mean, that's it here. We can actually open it up a little bit to questions from the chat to see how people are feeling and kind of bring up to our wonderful faces and see, you know, how people are feeling about Bakasura. But, you know, he's a great addition to Smite. And, you know, a character that, and one of the cool things about making new models is that it brings a resurgence back to the character, right? Because Bakasura is a character that may or may not be played as much because it looks a little bit older, but when you can embody yourself into that new kind of like flashy thing, it feels like you play the character in a different way.
I mean, yeah, I mean, look at the characters. Like, who here wouldn't want to play as Mumra mixed with Skeletor mixed with Baraka?
That's right.
I mean, who wouldn't want to do
Psycho
that?
Crusher.
And a Psycho Crusher? You got Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and all the 80s coming back in one place. I love it.
So cool. And, you know, it's not, you know, one of those characters that really kind of iconic in a lot of ways and supposed to be representing that darkness. It was more kind of like, what are the, especially with the minions, right? Because now the minions are going to be full, like, they're crawling after you, trying to reach at you. Before they were just the little tiny, we call them baby bakas is what we call them.
Little baby bakas.
Little baby bakas. Oh, there's the sound. Oh, yeah. So still the same sound effects there. But, you know, I'm excited. I certainly am excited to see him play. So that's the thing that we're looking at, right, is that you just keep doing it. Now, are there any characters in the game right now? Like, what have you done as far as Smite models?
Oh, man. Well, I did some of the older stuff. I was on Smite for a while, then I got switched into Tribes, and I got back into Smite. I did the Retro Hades. I did the oh man, Neath. I did Bakasura. I did Janus. And there's a couple other ones along the way, man.
That's awesome.
You just keep pumping them out, man. So it's like you kind of forget which ones you did. Yeah, I mean,
that's great.
We got so many characters plus so many skins. I can't remember, man.
That's a big list there. Now, just to close out the show, I'm sure a lot of people don't really get the opportunity every single day to ask kind of questions. Do you have any advice for people out there that are looking to kind of get into digital design, modeling, character art?
Oh man, I have some harsh advice when it comes to that kind of stuff. This is a very competitive world. With this industry, it's like kind of like the same level of competitiveness that you have in pro sports teams. It's like my attitude going into college was pretty much you have to be better than someone that has had this job for at least 4 years, and they have a wife and kids, and you have to take their job from them with no experience. So you have to get that good. Like that, you got to be hungry for this kind of job. Because I'm not letting them take my job. You can try all you want. I'm not letting you do it.
So is it just rapid fire? Just like make.
You have to be passionate. That's the biggest thing that I'm saying. Like you have to be passionate and diligent because it's like it takes time as an artist to become better. So and you can't just like get that time automatically. Like it takes time to just build your craft. The biggest thing I would say is obviously schools are pretty good. A lot of schools are. Even if you go to school, you're still gonna have to like work extra on your own because they teach you the bare bones kind of stuff, and you know they'll teach you what's relevant at that time, but you're gonna learn the most on the job. I would say take a look at like forums. There's a lot of forums online like CG Society, Polycount, Zebra Central, where you can kind of like take a look at what people are doing, get an idea of the bar that's set out there. And there's a lot of programs. You can also do really well for yourself if you have some 2D background. That really helps. And definitely, if a character artist, learning anatomy is really important. Super important. And it's like you have to learn at a doctor level where you know all the names and stuff like that.
Right.
But you have to understand that every bone connects to a muscle. And the way how the bone works, the muscle follows through, and you know it doesn't always apply 100% to some characters that are just like kind of normal. But it's like if I'm making a character that's really like like a bodybuilder kind of character, you have to understand how the muscles work. So
all the time. You see
yeah.
character artists that are
Yeah.
they're looking at reptiles,
Yes.
they're looking at dinosaurs, they're looking
Oh,
at
yeah.
fish, they're looking at
People need to
all
come,
the time.
need to come by my desk, man. I got like 1,000 toys. I look like I have like a Hi-Rez kind of gift shop going on at my desk.
It's
And
extensive.
yeah, it's I put a lot of time into this, man. I care. But there's like anatomy models and stuff like that for reference and all that, and you're always on the internet looking for ref. So there's that, and then there's also a technical aspect that a lot of people don't understand as well. A lot of that comes on the job, but like I mean, you're using software that's on a computer.
Right.
It's 2D where you're just like I'm not just a lot of people are like. When I go to my family and stuff like that and tell them what I do, they think they're like, oh, you do little drawings on the computer, It's like, no, I don't draw on the computer, man. Like, it's a 3D model. The thing rotates. You don't draw that. It's like you have to understand how to use computers well enough, and a lot of times in the game, things won't come out right. So a big thing that you need to know how to do, and again, this is an on-the-job kind of thing, but just give me a heads up, just troubleshooting. You have to be a problem solver. Like that is probably one of the #1 skill sets that no one talks about in this industry is being a problem solver. Because like a lot of times things will not come out the way you expect them to come out, and you're like, all right, well, how do I figure it out?
Right.
And you just knock heads with everyone around you, and try to figure out the best solution and just get it done.
What is a list of the top programs that people should know if they're looking to get into the job?
Okay, you need to know a sculpting package, absolutely, which is either Mudbox or ZBrush. I use ZBrush. I have nothing against Mudbox, but that's what I use here. You need to have a program. Generally, the workflow is you'll do a high poly model based off a concept, and then you'll do a retopologization of that model. And you can use a bunch of different programs. There's specialty programs for retopoing. There's 3D Coat for that. There's TopoGun for that. That's just name dropping some programs.
There you go.
And then once you retopo, and retopoing is pretty much saying you have a high poly model that's done. It's millions of polygons. There's no way that can be on the screen at once because, I mean, a character probably like Bakasura is like 15,000 polygons. The high poly model is like 20 million or something like that.
Right.
And a computer has to process that in real time, so you can't have a high poly model. So you take that, and then you make a low poly that's kind of the cage of the model. It gets all of the silhouette looking right, and everything's like kind of matched up to the high poly model.
Okay.
And then you retopo that, and then from there you'll do like a projection kind of thing of the detail from the high poly to the low, and that's kind of how you get like the base for your character. So you also have other programs for hard surface things like 3D Max, Maya, Softimage, it's XSI. Those are pretty standard programs that are used in the industry, mainly Maya and Max. We use Max here. And then after you get all the bakes done, the projection bakes from the high poly to the low, you're going to want to do some sort of painting software, which is primarily Photoshop.
Okay.
There's Painter as well, but Painter's more towards 2D stuff like conceptual.
Sure.
So you want to definitely have a 3D package, like 3D Max, Maya, Softimage. You want to have a sculpting package, which is ZBrush or Mudbox, and then you want to have Photoshop. That's pretty much the rundown.
Good start. It seems like there's a lot of translation from software to software.
There is
and
a lot.
Good breadth to learn across the board.
And the thing is, it's all like technical stuff. Like pretty much the overarching idea is the same in each of the programs. This is more of the technical understanding. Because at the end of the day, you're making art. It's just in a 3D realm. So you just have to kind of learn how to translate the mindset into the 3D. Because it's like you still have to be good at doing art. Like you have to be. Like I have to be just as skilled as an artist as a conceptual artist is at their craft, like doing 2D. But I have to do it in 3D. So like it's more about understanding the form rather than drawing the form. You know what I'm saying? I have to understand the form in 3D because like a lot of times you'll just see a 2D artist, they'll mess up on like foreshortening and stuff like that. I don't have to worry about that. But I have to like make the model look just as good from my craft as a 2D artist does for theirs.
Right. Yeah. Seems like it's a lot of technical aspect.
Yeah.
I do DryBear draws, but it's kind of like
you do.
Yeah. It's
I
pretty rough.
This.
It's pretty rough.
I'm impressed already,
there's some
man.
drawings out there.
You start speaking some art language. I'm like, all right.
I use paint. I changed the color from red to black.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
Sophisticated.
Yeah, I use the fill bucket to kind of get the full color spectrum there.
I like
all
that.
red, all green.
All right.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I'm starting up. So of course, if you guys have
Kindred
any questions,
spirits. I didn't even know, man.
well, I'll share it. It's out there. Maybe some people linking it in chat. But
All right.
looking for some questions here from chat. If you guys have any questions here for Ben while he's on the show, Death Machine's going to be staying the same. The Feaster Bunny will be staying the same. Looking for any questions here.
Oh, those guys went so fast.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Nothing too major. I've answered most of it. Let's see.
You can use Blender. That is a free program to use, but I don't see anyone in the industry professionally use it that much.
Someone asking why humanoid over the hunched model, if you're comfortable mentioning.
Well, I mean, he is hunched. Look at the animations. He's hunched over. I mean, like, it's just the default pose. Like when I modeled him is like he's like a standing guy, but the animation sells the hunched look.
Yeah,
I think
he brings right back down.
Yeah.
Looking. Yeah, it looks like most of the general questions have been answered at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the show, guys. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in today. And, of course, thank you, Ben, for coming on the show and talking a little bit about art. It's good to have a lot of diversity in what we brought in here. I'm sure there's a lot of aspiring artists.
Yeah.
After we did the Thanatos drawing and see who could draw the concepts for Thanatos, we realized there's a ton of artists out there, and people who are aspiring to be artists as well. So concept artists really giving some experience from the industry helps out a lot. So again, thank you for coming on the show. Thank everyone for tuning in. We're going to have a brief break and move on to the next part of the program. Of course, we do have the art show coming up next, and we'll be cutting to a brief break and moving on to that. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.
Is a healer. I don't want to give it time. I want everything the way it was before I walked to my life. Time might give the answers. I don't want to waste more time. I want everything the way it was before I walked to my life. Now moving on, moving on, moving on. Now moving on, gonna get on with my life. Now moving on, moving on, moving on.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have another part of Dev Talk to show off today. A little bit of an adjustment. Of course, my name is HirezDrybear, and I'm joined today by Kevin. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Kevin. I'm the senior UI engineer. I do a lot of things, and most recently I've been doing a lot of work on the Spectator UI that you've been seeing during the SPL.
So, I mean, we had a lot of revolutionary changes in the Spectator, right? The first Spectator we had was just like, hey, we want to watch the game, right? That was like 2012. We're like, okay, we want to watch it. And then we started iterating on it, making the Spectator changes. We can move up in the air. We have the assisted camera. So, what spurred the change here in the newest version?
Well, now that we've been putting a large focus on esports and wanting to have a professional league and constantly streaming high-profile matches, we wanted to get the experience as a spectator, tell what's going on in the game, and be able to find all the stats much easier while broadcasting.
Right, yeah, so get more information. One thing we've been missing for a very, very long time is the ability to see, abilities, what level they are, what are they leveling, what are they buying, that kind of thing. So, is this something the information we have available, we just try to figure out how to implement it?
A lot of the information we had wasn't actually available to the Spectator client yet, so we had to go in to the back end and surface that information so that we could then implement UI elements that would display it and show everyone the information, such as the Gold Fury and Fire Giant life, and if
Right.
they're hoggable and all those sorts of things, as well as many of the game stats that we have in the new game stat UI. So,
Right. Well, one thing that we talk about a lot, especially from a UI perspective, for those of you wondering, is that screen real estate. I mean, that's a very valuable commodity to be able to have places to put things. So, how did you go through the process of figuring out how to make things fit?
Well, a lot of the stuff was first mocked up by our UI artist Eric, and he tried to put things on the outside where we already had stuff that was in the HUD itself, so that the spectator HUD would look very similar to the HUD when you're playing your game, and thus the borders of the screen were the primary spots to place things. And we already had the bottom bar that we wanted to keep. We just needed to make it smaller so we could add additional stuff. So various stats such as the actives ended up being moved to these player bars on the side, as well as the player names.
Now, the first iteration coming out here of the new Spectator system, I'm loving it, especially as a cache. There's so much information to look at. We have a lot of different graphs and things that are available here. So let's go ahead and bring it in and show what we have on screen here. See, you can really look at the elements on the screen. So this is the new Spectator system. You've been seeing it so far today for the caster version of the SPL and that kind of thing. And one thing you can notice already is that, we have those sidebars coming out here. So you can see the actives going up on the screen, and these pieces here, you can see them picking up Hand of the Gods, that kind of thing. We also have one of the coolest additions is the fact you can see buffs. So as far as the sidebars go, what was the philosophy there?
Well, the main issue, or the main thing with the sidebars, was we wanted you to feel like is the same as when you're in a match, and we wanted, and thus, God, that's so strange. We just wanted to be able to show more information, such as buffs on players. So we either had to have it show down at the bottom whenever you select a player, but that doesn't work very well because we need to see buffs for an entire team at the same time. So we chose the most important buffs that players look for during a game, which would be the blue buff and the red buff and the movement speed buff, as well as Fire Giant, and made those the primary buffs that we show on the sidebars.
Yeah, I mean, it looks fantastic, but we also have a whole plethora of information coming across here and kind of making things fit, and the two graphs kind of being separated out and then moved next to each other. And then, of course, like you mentioned, the objectives over here. Which part's your favorite, by the way?
One of the parts that I really like is the game stats panel that we made that lets you compare different players or all the players in the game and see their exact or their comparison bars for all their stats, because it gives you a good visual representation of how they're doing compared to each other. Before, you had to use the bottom panel, and all the stats were there in number form. And while you could look at it for a while, you don't get an at-a-glance instant look at it, such as here, you can tell that Circuit was doing the best on structure damage, or here, player damage, Niza is clearly ahead, whereas if you had to read all the numbers, it would take a much longer time to come to that conclusion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's easy enough. You see Naja, Freya, Geb, Ul. I mean, it's right there laid out for you. There's a lot of options as far as what you can see, gold per minute, experience per minute, and a lot laid out here. Now that we have everything kind of locked in, what is the next step for Spectator?
Well, one of the big features that we've worked into the next patch is the ability to reorder players in the bottom bar so that you can drag and drop to sort them, so that for whatever event or whatever reasoning you could set up to have the two hunters paired across from each other, your mid laners paired across, and so on, so that it's easy to compare how two people in the same role are doing against each other in the game.
Right, that was kind of like a big request once the new Spectre rolled out. It was just, I wish I could see exactly, because that's when, I mean, it's all about comparisons. And one of the reasons why these little charts here are so fantastic is that you can see this guy has more stuff than this guy, kind of thing. And if you're able to put the roles next to each other, it's really valuable. As far as anything else, is there anything else that you're planning to come along with the Spectator?
We have one feature in the works that's going to be a timeline for the game that lets you move backwards and forwards throughout the game, and it shows key events like when teams get double kills or triple kills, or when an objective is taken. It'll show up on the timeline, and thus you'll be able to quickly jump back to various points of the game that are important, and thus you won't have to kind of move back 10 seconds at a time and kind of guess where you're going, that you have a much better grasp of where you want to jump to in the game.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's something that it's great because you can see it all laid out in front of you. Here was a kill. Here was first blood. That was the Gold Fury. That's an awesome feature coming through. Now, one thing that people are already asking about and wondering. And of course, regardless of what you change, it's still going to be. It takes time to be received well. We have mirrored the bottom scoreboard. Tell me about it.
Well, one of the important things when you want to look at and compare two people in a or in the same role is you want to be able to compare their stats. And by mirroring it, we put important stats in the center so that you can look at their levels really quickly, and they're right next to each other. And then their KDA is fairly close to each other. So it's easy to tell their net worths and their key stats without having to look at a significant difference in space on the screen. So you can get those differences in one common spot to look.
Now, of course, there's going to be some small changes as far as like being able to read and visibility of the actives and the active visibility changing.
The actives are going to stay where they are at this point, but we're adding the tier icon or the tier markers under them so that you can tell which level your Hand of the God is or various other things without having to know the icons, or as Hand of the Gods doesn't have separate icons.
And one of my favorite things, of course, is the fact you can see stacks on everything. You see he's got 6 stacks on Devourer's Gauntlet. You can see if someone has a potion or not. I mean, you can even see, and this is something that I'm sure a lot of people, there's little nuggets that people haven't even realized yet. I mean, who got a Gold Fury and how many times. You can also see potions, so if you can just tick through and see if I can actually find one. It may need to be early game for this. You can actually see potions, elixirs, and of course healing and mana potions. So we probably need to bring this back just a little bit just to see it. Once early game when they actually have potions to use. See if we can't bring this up. Someone's gonna have one. There it is. So you see blue and green in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. You can see that Ionic is now regenerating using health and mana potions. That's awesome.
Yeah. It also has all the buff potions that are the 3,000 gold potions at the end of the game, so when players start buying those, you'll be able to tell who has an effective one of those on them.
Well, this is great. And honestly, it's a great tool. I mean, I was excited about it for a very long time, and once it finally got revealed, and the fact that we were able to use it today and yesterday, it just makes me so happy. So, as far as that goes, and an easy way to open it up if you want to just kind of close out the game here, UI, how did you get into it?
Oh, every time I worked on a project with friends and things growing up, I always ended up doing the UI because most people weren't that interested in UI, and I enjoyed laying out screens and getting everything hooked up, and from then I just grew into always doing UI on whatever projects I was working on.
Cool. So if let's say there's someone out there who's trying to get into the gaming industry and they have interest in UI, is there any advice you would give there?
Right now, learn Flash. Make sure you know how to set up, do everything with Flash.
Flash?
It's one of the primary tools that's used in the industry right now for UI development.
So Flash is the key into the industry, and make sure you have a keen eye for the elements and spacing and real estate for the screen and separating everything out. But, we can open up for a brief bit of questions here as we show off. A lot of people, I mean, to be fair, a lot of people love the Spectator. The Spectator UI looks good. Let's see if there's any major questions here. Patch notes will be tomorrow, yes. Remodel for Bakasura was shown earlier. Any major questions for Spectator or changes that may be coming in the future? Make sure you shoot those out now so we can get them answered. As you have the main man who can give you the answers if they exist.
Doesn't look
like. No. Game design's level 3. There you go. Yeah, this looks like no major questions here from the chat. So, of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to send those along, and we'll see if we can get those answered after the fact. But, it's a really exciting thing to see. And, I think that as it starts to grow, it gives us more and more tools to use as broadcasters in the way that we have things that are available to us. And I think, just today, you're mentioning, okay, guys, look at the bottom right corner of the screen. They got 2 Gold Furies versus 1, and then the stats showing up. I mean, it really brings life to the broadcast itself. Seeing if there's any. How complete is the Spectator UI? Is there much room for anything else?
Oh, there's always room for adding things to the Spectator UI. As we mentioned earlier, the timeline is something major that we want to get in. But for the most part, I believe the feel and look of it is going to stay the same at this point. It's just minor tweaks, increasing readability, adding in extra minor things as we see them. There's one thing that I think would be cool is getting in the ability to tell passive meters on some gods.
Right.
Such as Odin, you don't know how many stacks he has from his passive.
Sure.
And it'd be great to be able to do that because right now you have to go and do a bunch of math as a caster to figure out, oh, he might have this many stacks right now.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Well, that's a great time to step out here, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today, Kevin. Of course, we'll have some information in chat where you can find Kevin, especially on Reddit. Pretty active reading the Reddit and seeing what's going on there. And of course, we have a lot more coming out the rest of the day. We have Art Show coming up next. We also have tomorrow. Patch notes will be taking place as well. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for being on the show as well, and for everyone in chat as well as all the people running the broadcast and production today. We will see you in just a bit for the Art Show.
Thank you.